So, Jake,
Yes.
we had Gavin on the podcast, and he did really well. He did really well last episode. So well that I felt that he maybe wanted to be on here permanently.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't just do that without proving himself.
Yeah.
So
I would have to agree with that. Yeah.
I ran him through Tomb of Annihilation.
What?
And he didn't make it.
Oh shit. He's dead?
He didn't. Yeah, he's no longer with us.
You ran him a lot, like him, Gavin, through Tomb of Annihilation. Where is this?
And he didn't make it.
Can I go through it?
We were deep in the jungles near the Bermuda's Triangle. That's what it's called.
Deep in the jungles near the Bermuda Triangle over the ocean.
North. Well, north of the in a close landmass to the Bermuda Triangle
would be Florida. So I guess
there was a mega dungeon, and he didn't make it.
It would be in Florida. That's.
So comment a eulogy for Gavin down below. Let him know, some kind words for him. He will no longer be joining us.
If you see Gavin's comment down there, it's not Gavin. He's dead.
It's not him. That's a mysterious creature that has taken over his conscience from the Bermuda Triangle.
Yep.
From Florida.
From Florida. Florida man.
Florida man.
What are we doing?
Dude, what are we doing is just the question of this podcast.
That's true.
We are giving incredible advice to those out there who run campaigns, run D&D games, play D&D games, and they want to improve, they want to get better. And so we answer questions from people that are in a tough situation. They need some advice, and we give them that advice. We have a combined 20-something odd years of DMing and playing.
I fucking
together.
hate that.
Dude, right? Did you add them up? I know, combined. Isn't that crazy?
I hate that so much.
Our first seeker of advice is AZ4 Pun Floyd.
AZ4 Pun Floyd.
AZ4 Pun Floyd on Reddit asks, let the party TPK themselves?
All right.
I've dropped lore, sightings, etc. of the BBEG. The party is nowhere near strong enough to fight him, but they want to. Do I railroad them away from him so they can see the rest of the plot and level up? Or do I let them do their investigation, find him, fight him, and 90% sure TPK themselves?
Mm-hmm. Yep. As a player, I would insist on going and fighting him. And as a player, I would also say do not make the BBG any weaker. Keep it just as strong. If your players are that insistent on trying to kill the BBG at whatever level they're at, and they're under level, let them go. Someone might die.
Mm-hmm.
Running is always an option. I'd probably make that pretty clear that running is always an option. But after that, don't railroad them. Let them do what they want.
I would drop
some lore, maybe.
He said he's dropped lore sightings and stuff of the BBG, so that's been out there. I would maybe drop, if they're really insistent on it or they're leaning in that direction, I would drop one over the table, hey, your characters would know that the BBG's power at this point probably far exceeds their own, but sometimes you gotta take risks kind of thing. Don't totally tell them they can't do it, but make sure that the expectation is clear, because you don't want a situation where your players think that they're supposed to fight him, right? Your players might think that they're actually supposed to go fight the BBG. They don't have the adventure module or whatever it is. They don't have your campaign written out for them like you do, so they might think that it is the time to go fight him. So make sure you at least drop something, making sure the expectation is clear, is that they are taking a risk in doing it early. But then if they're still insisting on it and they really want to go do it, I agree. Let them go do it and just fucking thrash them. Just murder them, and at some point, above above the table, throw out running is an option. I like you saying that a lot. I think that makes a lot of sense. Or, maybe a couple of them die before they run, and then, fucking their NPC back at the village tells them where they can go revive their friends, Oh, there's an ancient ritual in the mountains, and, we might be able to bring your friends back, kind of thing, So it's not like, permanent, everybody loses their characters, it's annoying.
Yeah.
But now,
but
their party has, like...
Is good, I would say.
It's a good lesson. Now they all have a vendetta against the BBG. A couple of them have actually died to the BBG. They want to kill them even more, but they know that they need to get more powerful before they can go try again. And I think that could be a really good story.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I would say just fucking let them bitches fly to whatever seat on their pantaloons they wish.
Yeah. I think fucking rock with it.
If death is what they want, then death is what they shall have.
True. Also, if for some reason, be it the dice or incredible planning, your players do beat the BBEG, let them do it and let it be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then,
true.
And then introduce a power even greater that can do the rest of the focus that your BBG was supposed to do, right? So, like, if you have, like, this dragon cultist priest kind of guy, and he's the BBG, and then your party goes and kills him, well, maybe now, like, a true ancient dragon rises up. With his last breath, he casts a spell to summon some, ancient deity or something. And now that dragon can go do all the BBG stuff that your old BBG was supposed to do, but now it's, like, elevated, and there's an even, deeper level and a bigger threat because your party was more powerful than you had planned. Like, it can all lead to really cool stuff.
I also think that, like, chase scenes in... most TTRPGs are, like, shunned by the players for some reason. They're cool as hell. Yeah. Like, Fast and the Furious, that's the only reason you watch that. It's just a big, long chase scene. And it's cool as fuck. You could do some cool shit on a chase scene trying to escape. So, if you're like, oh, it's lame to just run away. No, it's not lame to run away.
Yeah, make some, like, skill checks, some, acrobatics, athletics, dexterity saves, like, throw some checks in there to, dodge, like, the BBG's abilities and things that he's throwing at them as they're trying to get away and they're narrowly escaping, and, yeah, that's cool.
I think it's super lame to just be like, no, I'm gonna sit here and die.
Yeah. It's not exactly like a hero's death. Yeah, it's not exactly like a hero's death or a hero's sacrifice if, like, you could have left if you continued fighting.
Yeah, Boromir getting shot with fucking 40 arrows would not have been a cool death if you knew that there was any way that he would have, like, been able to get away without dying and everyone else also live.
Yeah, if everybody's like, Boromir, there's a tunnel of safety right here, we can all leave, and he's like, no, I'll stay. It's like,
I'll stay and fight. Like, Boromir, Bugs Bunny dug a rabbit hole underneath you. Hop in. just like that's lame. But like, Frodo gets chased by the ring wraiths,
Nazgul, the ring wraiths,
the entire time, and that's cool. So.
Yeah, he's they're running. They don't fight the ring wraiths. They do eventually, and even then, when they fight the ring wraiths at Weathertop, they didn't permanently kill them. They just kind of, like, I think they are, like, sent back to Minas Morgul, and they, like, respawn or whatever the fuck. So it's like that could be a thing too. Like, maybe they fight the BBG, but he
dies,
he does almost die. Maybe the BBG can. Kind of resurrect themselves, or they're like their powers diminish for some time, but, like, the players know that they'll come back. Like, there's always
don't do
stuff,
a Palpatine. Don't do
and
somehow he's back.
I have another good one here.
Okay,
I had a couple of really good questions that came across my feed this time. This one comes from Scarlet Matt.
Thank you, Scarlet Matt.
Scarlet Matt. Thank you, Scarlet Matt.
Scarlet Matt.
How do you introduce a new PC to an existing campaign? Tough question. We've been there. A PC dies,
a hard one.
Or maybe you switch characters, or something happens, or a new player joins a little late. Something, a million reasons why a new PC could be coming in. It's a hard question. Matt says, I'm a new DM and still learning. I have a PC coming into our group and the campaign was started a few sessions ago. I was just wondering some ways y'all introduce new PCs. I think the you rescued them trope is not for me. I feel it sets the wrong tone right off the bat. I think it makes the new PC feel weak and helpless right off the start. What are some fresh ways that y'all use?
I think
Interesting.
I like his comment.
I do as well. Yeah, I do think that's like the basic is like you know the next goblin camp you find someone's in the cage and you rescue them, whatever. Which I think is, I don't know if I totally agree. I think it can be fine, but he doesn't like that one, so I think it'll be interesting to come up with some new creative ones.
I thinking back at the ones that we have done, looking back, weirdly enough, it's almost always been you that's been introduced, but it's normally after like your other characters died, and this is not the scenario that he's in, so it's not like you're introducing a new character after this person's character has already died. You're just introducing a new person into the campaign, and they're getting their first PC. So
we've had new people join later quite a few times.
Have we?
Yeah. So in the I'm going to be referencing so many campaigns that people don't know our whole lore. So Gavin, who we had on the last episode, joined one time when I was playing the spell sword wizard chick in the school campaign. He joined late as a thief. And he was my childhood friend or whatever, and he joined late.
You also joined late with that character, though.
Oh, yes, but he joined even a session after that.
Yeah.
So multiple PC introductions in that one. And then also we had a guest friend come in for one session who played an Ent tree creature. He joined in late.
Uh-huh. We also had that same person join in the middle of a campaign for one session.
True. So yeah, we've had lots of PCs join in late.
The way I can remember that we've done it is in the middle of a fight, just throwing them in the middle of a fight, so that way the other players see how their kit works, and then it's kind of oh, thanks for helping us. What are you up to? You're
it shows that they're powerful because they come in doing cool stuff.
It's the opposite of the. It's literally the opposite of they got captured and you have to rescue them. It's they jumped in a fight that you were already in to help you.
Yeah, I like that. And it's instant collaboration. Oh, this person jumped in and was our ally. So clearly we can trust them. Because I think that's always hard is I don't love the game of someone joins and it's oh, can we trust them? Someone commented here on the Reddit post something similar of establish that this new person is trustworthy, and I like that a lot. I think, and I think that works a lot with having them jump into a combat. I also think
it's hard because there's way cooler ways that I'm sure you could do it, but the establishing trust right off the bat is insane if you are doing it in a really cool way.
Yeah,
we're referencing Lord of the Rings a lot. I am, which is strange. But when they see Aragorn for the first time, my first thought at least is not, oh yeah, this is a good dude right here. It's this guy's a little shady.
Yeah, he was sketchy. I think in in a collaborative game like D&D, I don't know. I think it's more important to because Aragorn comes in as the lone wolf character we talked about. He doesn't usually run with people, and that doesn't work. We've talked about that before. How we don't.
No, yeah, the lone wolf does not work.
And so I think it's more fun to introduce them as someone who wants to work with the party. I think
someone who has them having maybe a piece of information might be a good way.
Yeah, them coming in with something that the party's been wondering about, or an extra piece of information about really cool whoever they're going after.
It would be a little difficult because it would have to be probably a little ways into a session, and you might have to have some knowledge of this person joining in before, maybe even a session before. But if you do the piece of information, you can that could be their goal for a whole session is to get to this person that has the information that they need.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I like that. And then I think also like having a trusted NPC that like the party already likes. Like let's say they're like the bartender that like they've been working for, whatever, and they really like the bartender. And then they go to the bar, and the bartender's like, "Hey, like I have this friend, and I think he could be a lot of help. They could be a lot of help. You should bring him along. Like you guys seem similarly minded." And then kind of introducing them that way. Then it's like, oh, like you're a friend of a friend. We're already cool. And then like that person can kind of come in and be like, oh, I'm this person. I hear we have similar goals. Like kind of establish a lot of that stuff like in a way that makes sense conversationally, and then they can go off together. I think that's quick and easy and effective.
Have we ever done it poorly? Yes.
When?
I think that, and it's wild that it comes back to you again, but that Fox Ranger or whatever character after your bard died in that one, I think that was done not well. Because he was just like sitting outside of the dungeon that we were just in or something. And it was
that was a lot of, I think some of these things that we call back to is like there was a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, there was. For sure there was.
Yeah, I don't think that was.
But I think we only ran that one session with that character.
Yeah, exactly. It's like things were going downhill fast with that one. Not like to anyone's fault. There was it was like right as like COVID was starting, so there was a whole lot of things going on.
Yeah. If at any point you ever think, oh, these guys only have good stories of their we don't. we've had so many failed campaigns and some rough.
Yeah, we've had some fucking some campaign like we've had like multi-year long incredible campaigns. Like we've had some campaigns that I will never forget, some characters I'll never forget. Like overall, I'm extremely happy with our tabletop RPG D&D experience, but just like anybody else, we've had campaigns that died after one session, flops. Died in the middle because scheduling, died in the middle because we wanted to start something else. Like we've had some flops for sure. Players that we had to kick out or quit or all kinds of stuff, interpersonal problems. But that campaign specifically, I think there was like so much going on. But that was kind of like an odd, like, oh, there's this guy right there and he's with you now. But there was a lot that played.
Yeah, I remember that one being very odd, and it was very off-putting for me, especially because I, like your old character that died, like I was like starting to build like a decent bond with, and this was still pretty early on in our game, so like a lot of the table or not table talk, a lot of the RP stuff, like I was still getting comfortable with. So we're just getting into it. I remember
we were pretty deep in.
We were pretty deep in, but that was probably the first campaign that I can remember that like I was invested in the RP over the like combat, because before I was more kind of combat centered in how I would play. Yeah. And I just remember for some reason that one switched.
Yeah, the problem was
because we had a bunch of really strong RP heavy characters.
Yeah, we had everybody had great characters. Yeah, I had a bard, and he was a halfling bard, and I really liked him a lot. And I didn't want him to die, but COVID was starting, and I knew that it wasn't going to be realistic for me to probably continue playing, or at least not in person. And so I didn't want to have this like really likable character that just like disappears. So I was like, okay, well, I think he has to die. So I set it up with the DM that he could have like this dramatic like death that was like sad because, the party really liked him. And like one of the people in the party was actually his like twin brother. So it was going to be like this like pretty sad thing. And then so he died and it sucked. And then I had a character because it actually seemed like after that I was gonna get to play. Maybe maybe I was kind of talking to the DM at the time, and I was like, maybe I can play online still. So I guess I will have a backup character. And then we played in person one more time, and then COVID like actually begun, and that whole campaign we never played again, which is a bummer. But that campaign was really fun, and I'm sad that it ended on such a weird half in half out. But no, it's COVID. What are you going to do? I'm sure lots of people have stories about their COVID tabletop RPG experiences. Some people maybe found tabletop RPGs during COVID, whether it was online or in person with some people you trusted or whatever. So I'd be interested to hear about that. If anybody has some interesting ways that COVID affected their tabletop RPG positively or not so positively, feel free to comment. I would love to hear how people made it through. If you have a positive
one, I'll be fucking astonished.
Sure. Yeah, it was rough out there.
Yeah. I'm not trying to derail or anything, but it's been like kind of picking at me since the last time we recorded. What in God's fucking name made you think that not tracking like bad guys' health was the way to go? Like, we have the reasons why you do it. I want to know how it began, how and when it began, actually.
I wish that I had like some incredibly insightful answer that like makes so much sense and is so genius. Honestly, I think it like just stemmed from laziness. Like I think it's kind of like find the laziest person to do the job because they'll find the easiest way to do it kind of thing. I think that combat. I don't remember. I think so.
Either Bill Gates or Steve Jobs.
I think it was Bill Gates. But I think it was a factor of balancing combat is hard, and especially like, you know, our group can get pretty wild like with the stuff we try to do in combat. Like we try to do really creative, weird things, and sometimes the damage of it's hard to calculate or things like that.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I love that our group does that, but it makes combat hard because like sometimes a combat that should be really difficult becomes like trivialized because somebody does something like incredibly creative, which is awesome. So I think balancing combat is hard, and so I just kind of found myself. I just didn't. I just found myself adding health a lot. Like you guys would just like do so well on combat, and I was like, man, this is gonna end in like 2 turns. Like I wanted this to be a cool fight, so I would just tack on more health, which like feels shitty because it feels like you're like cheating, like in the moment. Like it feels like you're fudging, which like I don't want to do, and I would never fudge. And this is just my rule for like fudging rolls or rules or whatever as a DM in general. And I think this is good advice. Is I never fudge in opposition to the players. I will never like say that I, you know, rolled a nat 20 and crit you when I didn't or something. Like I just would never. I do sometimes fudge if I feel like it will make it more fun or more interesting. Yeah. And so like if I think it would be cool for a player to kill an enemy with the move they just did, then it kills the enemy even if there's quite a bit of health left or whatever. So yeah, that's the only place where I'll kind of fudge dice rolls or fudge rules. And yeah, I think I just found myself tacking on health a lot, or maybe if I was going too long and I'm like, okay, somebody just kills this next attack. Like this is becoming boring at this point or whatever. Yeah. So like I just found myself struggling to balance combat. And so I decided I'm just going to set a range, a window of how much damage roughly this enemy can take. And then once we start getting close to that, I'll end it when it feels really satisfying. And I think it's just been very successful. It's actually something that I don't do in some of the other tabletop RPGs that we play, like in Dungeon World and stuff. I don't do that. The damage is just easy to calculate there. Yeah, in a lot of other games, the damage is like a lot lower numbers, and typically a lot easier to like calculate. Like, okay, this person has like this, you know, damage dice on their weapon or their class or however it works, and it's like, so they're going to do like roughly this much damage a turn, and like sometimes they'll take a move that like adds, you know, oh, you deal an extra d4 damage, and it's like, okay, so add 4 onto that, they're going to do roughly this much damage a turn. Like I have a gauge, so like I kind of know.
Yeah.
But D&D 5th edition or D&D 1 is tough, man. Some of the numbers get really big. And like I said, especially when people do really creative stuff, like, you know, we've had people, I remember you one time we were fighting a dragon and you had this dwarf character and you like hammered out the base of like a crumbling tower so that the tower fell on top of the dragon. And it was just so cool. It was so awesome. So like, obviously I want to reward that and make it as cool as possible by like having it do a ton of damage or pin the dragon down or whatever I did. But also like, it can't just instantly trivialize the fight. Like every time somebody does something creative, it can't just end the fight because it's cool. So you find a way.
Yeah.
Life finds a way.
On the topic of fudging, I tend to never fudge a dice roll. I think that's like one thing.
Yeah, you play it straight.
That's one thing that I will not do. I will not fudge a dice roll. As a DM, especially, I think that the dice are telling the story just as much as I am. So, like, it feels sacrilege to just do it once, or like even if you do it once or twice, like you're changing the outcome of something else that could have happened that might have been a lot more interesting.
That's true.
Also,
I will specify.
It also definitely could have been a lot less interesting, but that's how the dice work.
I will specify what I mean on the dice. So if there's like an important role, like if someone's trying to do something, trying to, revive their party member in some way, and it's really important. All those rolls, I just roll in front of the table. Like I lean over the DM screen, I roll it in front of me.
Yeah, really important rolls.
I would
over the table.
Yeah, you got it. Because like you said, the dice do need to tell the story, right? So really important rolls like that I would never fudge. The only time I would fudge dice rolls is like, let's say I've been hitting a player a lot. Maybe they're the tank and they're kind of in the front line, and the rogue's hidden, so I can't hit them, blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. I've been kind of wailing on this guy, and I know he's low HP, and then I just, like, crit him. And I'm like, okay, this fight's going to be really boring if this guy gets downed instantly, and all these other guys have to play out the rest of the fight for 8 more rounds trying to pick this guy up, or it's their tank, and everybody else is super squishy. It's like, the whole fight's gonna go bad if like this, it's like that kind of situation where like I crit somebody, or it's like something really unlucky, or I roll like max damage, right? I might be like, okay, I need to knock a few numbers off that kind of thing. That is probably the only time I'd roll, is when it feels like brutally unfair to the players, just in a dice roll. Like I said, if it's important, and let me clarify, this would never happen in a fight against a BBEG. Yeah. Or a very important fight. In a really important fight, if you're getting crit, you're getting crit. That's even better for me, because that just shows how intimidating the BBEG is, right? Or if he rolls max damage. I'm talking about like you're fighting goblins and one of them crits and rolls max damage, and it's like a major. I'm like, okay, we're not doing that. Times where it just wouldn't be fun or satisfying.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with my never fudge a dice.
I like it. I think there's going to be people that play like me, where they're a little bit more loose and fluid, and they're just trying to make it fun and exciting. And there's going to be people that are like, nah, man, like, the law is law. You got to,
law is law.
When it comes when it comes to dice and rules, people are going to fall differently on the scale. And I think you got to have a little bit of everything. And, you got to find somebody that you enjoy. Like, obviously, I guess I don't want to speak for you, but I would hope you like my DMing style, and you trust me, enough that I'm trying to make the experience as fun and as engaging as possible. But same thing when you're the DM, I trust you, that you're trying to make it fun and engaging possible, even if I know that you're going to be a little bit stricter about those dice. Like if I get crit, I'm getting crit, and I'm gonna have to take that, and we're gonna have to figure it out, and that's fine.
You're getting chunked a little bit. I also don't like DMing D&D, so this comes to my advantage a little bit, because the systems that I like DMing are not as well.
Crunchy.
In some ways, they're like a lot more brutal in how bad bad rules are. But True. There's a lot more wiggle room for me to make other things happen. Like, I straight up murked one of my players in 2 hits, and I don't feel bad about it. He did that to himself. He did that to himself, kind of. The person that killed him was pretty powerful, which he knew he was. But it was a system that I could it was Dungeon World. Dungeon World, when you die, when you go to 0 hit points, you don't die. You roll one last roll, which is basically like a willpower, like, can you stay alive? And it says in the instructions in the book, it says that a failure doesn't always mean that the PC's dead. A failure can mean that there's some kind of like pact that they have to make, or something that they have to do. It's pretty vague on what it is, but basically what I did is I put like a time frame on his life. Like I said you have 1 week to finish your task, and if you don't get it done in that 1 week, then you die forever. And even if you do finish the task, you die after the week.
And I just want to say that was like a perfect way to handle that PC death, because we were so close to the end that, I mean, we were 1 or 2 sessions away from finishing the campaign. So introducing a new PC at that point would have been really unsatisfying, because like, worst case scenario, they're just like unmemorable and nobody likes them as much as the initial PC, and we kind of wrap it up and we don't really care about them as much because we didn't have the time invested in them to get to know them. Or they're awesome and somebody makes an awesome player character and we love them, and you only get 2 sessions with them.
This character the whole time.
So you giving him like just enough time to be able to finish out the campaign but still pass away at the end. You know, he had like a kind of epilogue thing where it's like, you know, how did he spend that like last day? And so like he still faced the consequences of him dying in the way that he did. But
I remember
got to finish the campaign.
Talking to me afterwards about it and being like, I would have just killed him. And I was like, I remember the conversation we had. I was like, I would have just killed him if this was session 4 and not session 9 of an 11 session campaign. You know?
And you're totally right. And like I said, I think like hindsight, I think that was like the best thing he could have possibly done.
And I think that like his story was pretty satisfying. Like his death afterwards was cooler because he didn't immediately die right there. Even though he failed his role. I don't know if we specified, but he fully failed his role. And I basically was like, you are going to walk the world for a week and finish your task, and then you will die.
I think at the time I was like, oh, I would have just killed him, because the way he did die was pretty dumb.
The way he died was
really
pretty stupid.
He was playing like a bard, which in Dungeon World, you know, very squishy, easy to hit or whatever, and just kind of like ran in swinging like melee on like a really tough enemy, like
really tough enemy.
Like it was just kind of dumb. You know, like he could have like healed himself. Like there was like lots of options for him, and he just chose to keep wailing on this guy. Like, so I think that's why at the time, like I was a little bit more like I would have just punished him for being dumb, you know. But
I don't think that his reason for attacking was invalid. I think he had a valid reason for attacking, because I didn't catch myself when I said it, but I was like, basically this dude had just gone into a town and just started murking people left and right because they were all working for someone he hated, and he got really upset that he was killing basically women and children and everyone that wasn't giving him information that he wanted, and rightfully so. Like, so that I figured that's not why I was more lenient on it, but he had a good reason for being like, I'm gonna kill this guy. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool moment where he was like raging and went in to go fight, you know, this like villain who'd like, you know, done a horrible thing, but at the same time it's like you're playing the bard.
Yeah,
man.
I hit him one time and I did like 80% of his health or something in the one hit, and he was like, I'm gonna attack him again, and I was like, are you sure about that? Are you sure this is what you want to do?
Yeah, exactly. Like he could have saved himself there. So it's like,
but I think it was
that's the most important thing, is like he did still face, it was really interesting, and he still faced like if a player dies, regardless of like how it happens, like they need to face the consequence of that. Like there needs to be some repercussions, you know. I really just like, you know, a player dies and it's like, oh, but your divine deity, an angel, comes down and res you, and like everything's fine and like there's no consequence, you know.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
I have done that before too.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, stuff happens you don't expect and you're trying to solve it. Like, DMs have a lot going on. You're juggling a lot of things. So, like, I get it. But I think in general that feels pretty unsatisfying unless there's, like, a really specific reason. Like unless it's, like, a character who has been so connected to this deity and the deity, needs them to complete some kind of mission, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, there are scenarios where, like, it could be more, but, like, in general, I think I wouldn't want to go that
Yeah,
route.
when I ran Waterdeep, I accidentally killed you. And that was pretty rough.
Yes.
And I kind of did the cop out of like, oh God, says that your time isn't finished, and I gave you like a ring of wish that like was locked until basically the final fight. So
yeah,
as like a
I'm sorry
I killed you when I shouldn't have. It was a bad time too. For some reason in this campaign, I was like, okay, I'm going to give each person like a scene to do whatever they want to, because my mindset was like, I don't feel like there's enough interpersonal stuff and like characters don't get to explore things they want to sometimes. So I gave like the beginning of the session was each person got 1, maybe 2 scenes that they wanted to do. And I killed you in one of yours.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not how it's supposed to happen. This is bad.
Yeah.
But that was my actual first time DMing, I think.
Yeah, I think that's true. And it was fun. Like, we had cool characters. And that campaign was cool. I liked how we wrapped that one up. But yeah, I do remember I was playing like a dwarf cleric, and
yeah,
I had some scene where I was like supposed to go kind of confront these guys, and then they just beat the shit out of me.
I know, I felt so
beat
bad.
my ass and killed me like immediately. I was like, oh damn! Like, I was supposed to be all like, I went in so confident too. Like, I literally remember one of them saying something to me and me being like, "You're gonna fucking regret that" or whatever the fuck, and then they just like killed my ass.
It's so bad. It's so bad. That lingers with me sometimes. Every once in a while I think about that. I'm like, hey, you really fucked this up, you moron.
We all do it, man. We're all trying our best out here.
It's fine. It's like, in hindsight, it's incredibly funny to think about. At the time, I was like, I feel terrible. I feel so bad.
I feel like there's so many situations like that where like there was like campaign stuff that like at the time I was like frustrated about or upset about, or you just care. You care really deeply, or we at least, we've always cared really deeply about the D&D campaigns we're playing. We want them to be good. We want people to be having fun. And so I remember like being upset about the way that certain things went or were handled, or interactions with other players, stuff like that. But then like now looking back on like literally any campaign, like even like the worst of the worst stuff,
Yeah,
like,
I remember.
Like, you just can't do anything but laugh.
I think the thing is that for a lot of even the bad campaigns, I've tuned out most of the bad. I mostly remember the positives from them, except the one really, really bad one. I don't remember much good from that one.
Yeah, there's too much inside knowledge, man.
There's too much.
This is for nobody but us. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. But it is, and I think that is like the advice that I would take from that is, if you're getting to a point in a campaign where you're feeling frustrated or upset, like, just power through it. Try to have the most fun that you can. Make some interesting choices to try to shake it up. But like, don't, it's not worth blowing up about or getting in a fight with one of your friends about, or, or arguing with the DM about, like, because they're trying their best too, I imagine. Like, of course, they're going to have a bias because, they're going to think that they tried to rule it the best they could, and you disagree or whatever. Just try to have fun, stick it out, because, by the time you're, a couple campaigns down the line in the future, like, you'll look back and you'll just remember the good stuff. You'll remember the characters that were fun and interesting and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, I from most, even some of the worst sessions that we've had, I remember more of the good from them than the bad.
Yeah,
it's
like we've had a lot. I'd say we've had a lot of like bad interactions. We've had a lot of people that got upset, or like even times that like not everybody knows about. Like maybe just somebody was frustrated and like didn't say it to the whole group, but like maybe to one person, we're like, I really was frustrated with the way that combat went, stuff like that. We've had a lot of that.
Yeah.
And we've had, like we've said, like some bad campaigns, some bad sessions, some bad, all kinds of stuff. But like honestly, I really like if I really had to sit down, like I can really only remember like one or two calls made by like the DM that like really irked me, and like still to this day I'm like, man, that was just such a poor decision.
Were
Like
any of
things could have
them
been so much
mine?
more interesting or fun. They were not.
Oh, goody.
Both of the ones that I remember are not yours.
I think I can probably guess the two.
Yeah, we'll talk about it off
talk about
podcast.
it
I'll
off
tell you. I'll
podcast.
tell you the two.
I think
Alright,
I can guess
speaking
the
of-
two.
Yeah. Speaking of endings, Jay, character endings, story endings, arc endings, walk us out, man. Where are we going?
I think that I'm just looking at our numbers right now. I think we need a challenge. We need a challenge for the peoples. I say we need
They
to
have
make
to
it
survive
like a
Tomb of
special-
Annihilation.
They have to survive Tomb of Annihilation. They can get
And
Gavin
if you
back.
You can bring him back.
You can bring
come
Gavin
back,
back
for another episode if,
get-
you can
If we
save
get
him.
20 followers on Spotify, we'll bring Gavin back for another episode.
You heard it. You heard it here, folks.
I think we should do maybe a couple of, they're called stretch goals. We'll do a couple of stretch goals like that.
Okay.
I think one of them, 20, well, I already said it, 20 followers on Spotify, Gavin comes back for another episode.
He comes back. Yeah.
Let's say 50 followers on Spotify, we do best BBEG or best PCs of ours.
Oh, we go through it like really in depth.
Yeah.
I like that.
Do some really
I'll do
in-depth
for that
ones.
one. You pick your favorite PCs, and I'll pick favorite PCs of the other friends and things that we've played with.
Yeah.
that I got to run.
Yeah, because
for.
you've only had like 5 PCs.
Yeah, like a handful.
I think all your PCs have been pretty good. Most of your PCs have
try.
been pretty good. But yeah, I think 20 Spotify followers. Whenever it happens, we'll have Gavin back as soon as that happens.
And 100 Spotify followers on Gelatinous Dudes, we will start an actual play series.
Oh, that's crazy. That's wild.
I'm saying it here. It'll be in the main feed. Maybe it'll be once a month opposed to weekly like this normal show, but we'll start an actual play as part of Gelatinous Dudes.
All right. Well, can't take that back now. We're fucked.
Nope, never.
Can't take that back. Oh, also, this is episode 10. We've hit double digits. Our baby's double digits. We didn't do anything cool. We killed Gavin. That's what we did.
Episode 10, Gavin dies.
Gavin dies. That's crazy.
The title.
Gavin
The funny thing is
dies.
he has no idea that this has happened. He's like at work right now. He doesn't
at
know that
work.
we've canonically killed him.
How I will just put this together right after we're done recording and post it tomorrow morning, and he's gonna listen to this and be, oh.
This is so funny, dude. To like take control of a narrative that he has no idea.
We're
that's
railroading
happening. It's so
Gavin
funny
into
to me.
death.
We railroaded him into permadeath.
And only
Not permadeath,
the followers can bring him back.
You have to. You
Yeah,
must
so
delve
if
the
you,
dungeon.
If you ever want to hear Gavin's supple voice ever again,
Sultry, maybe?
nope, I said supple. I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
Share the show with your friends. That's the only way we're going to get the followers we need to bring back Gavin. And then eventually talk about some of my NPCs that I'm super proud of and some of the ones that Keagan really remembers. And then eventually start an actual play because you decided
Can't take that back.
Can't take it back. Oh,
Oh, I have a
jeez.
riddle for you, by the way.
I fuck you.
I'm kidding. Goodbye. See you later.
Bye.